Welcome to Updated Autopsy Report, a podcast from Yotze Ben and Friends where we replay the entire Ace Attorney series with longtime fans and newcomers. I'm your host, Ben, and with me today is Dessy.
Hello.
And two good friends of ours, Tiago.
Yo.
And Rose.
Hi.
I am the longtime fan, and Dessy is joining Rose and Tiago as the newcomer. We hope that through both of our perspectives as we play through the series, it'll reveal new details and provide interesting commentary for a series near and dear to us. Today, we have all played the rest of Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice, Turnabout Revolution. Wow.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to continue.
Then I will go right into the summary. Perhaps we need the summary. Actually, I'm going to do the summary, and if you feel that we need to jump in and start talking about it somewhere, because there's a lot to go through.
Yeah, because technically all of this has been one, air quotes, case.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
When really it feels like it's been two, but yeah, we've broken it up in such a way. So, yes, here we go. Back in court, Apollo prepares for his biggest fight yet. Queen Garan takes over the prosecutor's bench in a wild costume change and shoves Nayuta to the side. Rafa attempts to perform the divination seance, showing Inga's last moments, but collapses, unable to bear witness to her own father's final moments. I said final moments twice. Dirk is summoned to testify in the meantime, but his memory is fuzzy and has several gaps. I'm sure that's fine. We begin to piece together a timeline of when Nayna was last seen, when Inga went to the tomb, and the possibility that Inga may have been stabbed by her in the back. Rafa, inspired by Apollo and Phoenix's bravery in the face of the evil queen, returns to commence the seance. We immediately realize that it's going to be difficult to prove who murdered Inga because he has prosopagnosia, aka face blindness, which is represented in-game by the face of Dirk being blank and blurry. A new timeline emerges that reveals Inga must have been channeled. So, given that dead people can come back in this world, we need to ascertain the location of all spirit channelers. Maya is summoned to the stand and is strangely coy about certain details. Maya insists that she didn't channel Inga, and Garan confirms this would have been impossible because Inga's full name is only known to the royal family. Inga Karkul, how could this name be any longer or more pompous than it already is, Karain III?
This sucks.
I was so disappointed.
Did I amp it up too much? Did I put this on too high of a pedestal?
No, this is objectively the worst pun in the game.
Yeah.
I just think that I personally need to kill a translator.
It shouldn't be on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
But it is exceptionally bad.
I think this was the worst pun in the game for sure. And I think that whatever. I don't know. I'm so I like this being in this fucking country has destroyed me.
Okay. Well, then I will continue the summary for now, and we'll loop back around.
Sounds good.
The next possible spirit channeler is Amara, who, as you might recall, is still alive, and as Apollo reveals to the court, has been masquerading as Nayna this whole time.
We called that shit.
We
Yep,
super
you did.
called that.
You really did. Nayna says, sure, Apollo, maybe I channeled Inga, but how did I leave the tomb? The only people witnessed leaving it were Dirk and Maya. That's when Apollo puts together all the sordid evidence and realizes the horrible truth. Dirk has been dead this whole time. Maya has been channeling him since he was in Japanifornia for his entire visit and adventure with Apollo. Inga was merely bluffing that he had still kidnapped Maya. Dirk had been shot by Inga while rescuing Maya, and before dying, asked her to channel him so that he could see Apollo one final time. After this, Amara confesses to murdering Inga, and everything is about to end nicely, but something doesn't sit right with Apollo. Using Albi's photo and Emma's copy of Photoshop, he realizes that Amara was actually the one channeling for a foreign leader, meaning that the real killer was Garan. Before Amara can confirm this, one of Garan's guards shoots her, sending her to the hospital. Don't worry, though. She's fine.
She's fine.
With court resuming, moments later, now Nayuta confesses to the murder because of course he does. Apollo doesn't believe this for a second, and it's clear Nayuta is just doing this to protect someone. Spoiler, it's Rafa, his secret sister. Of course, now that the face...
called that.
Yes, you also did call that, 100%. So, of course, now that the face and name of Jove Jangly Justice are available to them, Rafa can do a divination seance of his last moments. This allows them to see evidence of Garan setting the fire all those years ago that supposedly claimed the life of Amara, almost claimed the life of baby Apollo, and unjangled Jove. Apollo sticks to his guns and points the finger at Garan, who laughs and holds them all at gunpoint, threatening to kill them all right then and there. However, Apollo pulls out the Founder's Orb and says, well, why don't you channel the Holy Mother right now? Huh? Bet you can't. Garan soldiers all excitedly giggle and titter and insist upon seeing her display of spiritual power. As you might imagine, Garan has no such power and collapses in a heap after struggling to make anything happen. The guards, disillusioned by their leader's failure, arrest her, and the world's most peaceful coup draws to a close. Nayuta and Rafa, now aware of their familial bond, take over the ruling of the country, and Phoenix, Athena, and Miles head back to the States. However, Apollo chooses to stay behind in Khura'in, helping Nayuta to rebuild the country's legal system. In the final scene, Lemuror is seen speaking to Phoenix, and the two agree that maybe now they should finally tell Apollo and that other girl that they're related. The end?
But they don't.
I mean, so let's like
figure out how to ham fist it in the next game.
Let's figure out what we did call. We definitely called the Nana twist.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely
called Rafe as the
baby.
The baby.
Mm-hmm.
We handled that. Dirk was way too sus about that. Did not call Dirk has been dead the whole time.
Insane.
Kind of pissed at him and Maya for covering that up. Like, they could have really solved a lot of our problems.
Question. When Dirk was in America, and technically so was Maya, fucking, I already forgot the name of the husband. I can't believe I forgot his name. I think it's Ivan, but it's not.
Inga,
thank you.
Yes.
Inga says, I have Maya hostage. And Dirk is, inside his head, he knows that Inga doesn't, because he's Maya. So, like...
And he says, you don't have Maya. But everybody just kind of is like, I don't know what he means by that.
And then Inga goes, oh shit, you're right, my bad. So, Dirk has been dead for a couple of days and is being channeled by different spirit mediums.
Fuck it. They left this man in the freezer. The most unrealistic thing about this case. Okay. Yes, they did cover how people were running around in his clothing.
Okay.
Whilst, he was no longer with us. However, a dead guy in a freezer and you're taking his clothes on and off?
Mm-hmm.
I think not.
It's
they do say that there's like a second pair of clothes, but they also kind of hand wave it, right? They're like, there's a second pair of clothes.
Don't ask about the anime characters wearing the same outfit 7,000 days in a row.
Like, whatever Maya was wearing to Japanifornia, that's a separate piece of clothing than the clothing
would have to
that...
the other one has bullet holes in it.
Right. The one that Nana uses then, right, is the bloody one, right?
Yeah, I think that I have to make sure I don't get distracted by a piece of information that's just been brought to my desk.
You need to stop. You guys are DMing each other while we're recording a podcast.
They're leaving us out. Listeners that are being excluded.
Listen. Dash just bought me the clown on Dead by Daylight so I could go play Dead by Daylight as a clown. So I think it kind of fits, the narrative that we've built here on the updated Autopsy report.
Narrative.
The clown-based the narrative.
It all boils down to we're all just fucking clowns.
I hate clowns.
So that's an insane twist that I could not have called, but low-key I kind of love it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, We really are.
Hate it.
We are weaponizing spirit mediums now. We are like
this
using them for
really
personal
Ghost
profit.
Law.
Yes.
I got what I
Been asking
wanted.
for
I
it
got
since
real
game 2.
Ghost Law.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like we glanced over this, but I think it's really important to say. Empress Garan has an M. Bison-like transformation. And
It's really quite funny.
I kind of love it.
Do you say Garan or Garan? When Ben says Garan, I think of Duran.
I said Garan, but I don't care which one. She tells me what to call her, you know what I mean?
I don't care. I don't.
Udihara.
Udihara Garan. Oh yeah, Garan. You're right.
I skip all of the sound clips because I hate them. So
wait, Rose, real quick check-in. You don't find the Empress Garan attractive?
That's not what I said.
Okay, but do you?
Yes.
Okay. I
don't care for certain things about her. She keeps breaking her false nails, and I have like a phobia of like fingernails and breaking fingernails. So that does kind of leave me like
they're just press-ons. Just think of it that way. They're just press-ons, and press-ons super cheap, and they pop off so easy.
I know, but that does kind of like preclude me a little bit.
Sure.
Okay.
That being said, I love what she's done with her hair.
She
you
made
like the hair tentacles?
Makes no sense at all. 10 out of 10.
She really is like the new vessel for M. Bison, just like the same way that
I
fucking...
find it like a little more oomph into her outfit design. Like
she had the hot like skin tight suit, which honestly, if that's the religious wear, I'm joining. You know what I mean? I kind of get it now.
That's what prosecutors are wearing. Nayuta should be wearing that. Nayuta's still chronically unfuckable. I don't care for him.
Alright, very important. We learned that he is not the Kwisatz Haderach, which makes him
not.
That makes him quite possibly the most disappointing character in this game. I think
such a shame. We were kind of pulling for it.
Honestly, if we called the fact that he's the Kwisatz Haderach, that would have been insane.
That would rule.
I didn't think that because I don't know what that is, so he hasn't changed for me at all. Still don't like him.
So,
I mean, we still wouldn't have liked him.
Sadmati's arc is that he goes, all right, my mother's being held captive, but and then the Empress goes, actually, so is your little sister. And he goes, double fuck, I really gotta commit now. And that's why he's a shitheel the entire time, is because he's like, the Queen Garan has my sister hostage. The sister who I have never interacted with outside of this court of law. Okay, man. Sure. Whatever. Sadmati...
What about all the innocent children you guys put to death, huh? What about that?
Right. And he just kind of has given into despair, right? Basically, as a result of this. And now he's just become a cog in the system.
I kind of wish...
Sure, you might have... Sorry, go ahead.
I just think I wish he'd given into despair in, like, a more fun way.
A cooler way.
Instead of just being awful and rude to us the entire time. As opposed to Miles, who was funny and rude to us the entire time.
Yes.
At least he was allowed to be goofy, like, in the middle of it. Like, Sadmati had to be so, like, I don't know. He wasn't funny. He was just a jerk.
The thing about Sadmati is that I don't think he just plays well off of any other prosecutor except of Apollo. And this is like...
And he doesn't really play very well off Apollo either. Like, the only chance we get is, like, a little bit, like, of occasionally people refer to the fact that they are ostensibly brothers.
I think...
And that's it.
Early on, when Apollo fought him in US of A, I think that there were a couple lines that, like, kind of got me about how, like, oh, you're just a smelly pepper. And Apollo's like, I'm a pepper? Me? And that, like, he really took it personally. Me? I think... Apollo's reactions to his jokes were funnier than his actual jokes. And then at a certain point we come up against the whole...
There were no jokes.
Okay, well, let me finish my thesis and then you can tell me it's wrong. My thesis is simply Sadmati works when he's not in the Kurain court, because Kurain court, Sadmati is there to explicitly kill us. Whereas in American court, he's there just to dunk on us. But it's a lot more low stakes, and therefore it makes it funnier. It's just too high stakes of like a setting in order to have a like quick witty banter. And
the other thing is also like we could have maybe leaned a little further into, like, I'm sure some people might read the like, oh, you're just a little red pepper, as like brotherly jokes, right?
I can't get over red pepper.
But
Red pepper.
but like I feel like you would have needed to lean a little harder into it to make that read that way, right? Because if anybody has a sibling, you know that what actually happens when siblings like
They're
rib at each other.
at each other.
It's actually way like you get way more nasty, right?
Yeah.
You actually or just get a little more
It gets
shitty about
physical
it.
instantaneously, like
It's just
on
hitting your
sight.
sister in the head with a hairbrush. Sorry. I feel bad about it now.
The most redeeming thing about Sadmane is that at the very end, Rafa and Sadmane like try to develop a sibling bond, and Rafa's like big, and then Apollo's like, "Hey man, you having a stroke?" or like, "What's up?" And then she hits the both of them with the fucking staff. That's funnier, but like,
Yeah, she worked out in the end.
I like Rafa more than I like Sadmane.
Oh yeah. Well, once I realized that she was stupid, I was like, oh hell yeah, you know.
Yeah. I think
I was a little disappointed with like the motion capture like of the animations. Like she has her dramatic moment, various different characters have their dramatic moments, and they just felt like not very impactful and a little bit like jittery and wiggly in the wrong ways because of the
it's
motion
like
capture.
they flip the switch and you know it's motion capture instantly.
I think 3DS games
Yeah, I
shouldn't
agree.
have motion capture. I'm saying it. I'm saying you should hire a fucking animator. Well, it's not like they're making 3DS games now in the year of 2024, but
Perhaps later in the future we could do this thing where we motion capture a performance to get like a baseline of how the human body would move, but then we go in and we tweak it to make it look smoother and look nicer overall.
Ben, are you
That'd be crazy.
prophesizing?
That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Are you
if we did
prophesizing
that?
right now?
Well, maybe a little bit.
Do you have the site?
Maybe just a little bit.
Is Ben the Quizak cataract?
Is Ben?
No.
Oh, boo!
I can confirm.
So like I'm trying to see how I feel about every character. Inga, I kind of liked him because he's a shit heel character and he knows exactly who he is, which is one of the worst motherfuckers ever, and I appreciate that. He doesn't need to change. He's fine.
Yeah, I love
Nate-
horrible old men. He's perfect. It's kind of implied that he is just like at least kind of doing this for his daughter. Like he seems like I don't know.
He's
still
planning a
got her.
coup. He likes his daughter. He also gets to be summoned, spirit channeled, almost immediately after he dies. So almost no time passes for him, and he just wakes up screaming and goes, "Ah!"
That's really
and
funny.
runs, which is really funny.
Yeah,
I would do the exact same thing. I'm like,
Oh.
you know what? You're like staging a coup, but it's like against your like abusive wife. Like, I don't know, man. Go for it.
they're doing it explicitly.
Yeah, sure. Turn the country part over this. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, it's
I
fine.
mean, honestly, you can't really ask for a divorce, right? Like,
She would just kill you. And you got the kid to worry about.
I know.
Dude,
Oh man, she took the kid in the divorce, but I got the country.
I do like Inga being like one of the worst people alive, but still cares for Rafa, his adoptive daughter. He's like, all right, kid.
I am fond of irredeemable characters with children that they love. Like I like that trope.
It's a good trope. It works every time. So Nana, who was the attendant for Rafa this entire time, turned out to be Queen Amara in disguise. How do we feel about that? How do we feel about Amara?
She's got some really fun animations.
Yeah.
Really entertaining, I think, as far as animations go, because you get her old lady act first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of fun. And then when she gets revealed, she does like a magical girl transformation scene, spinning her hair out. Obviously, you know, kind of, you can take it or leave it. The whole like 30, 40-year-old woman like pretending to be 80 or whatever, and nobody bats an eye kind of thing.
I wouldn't mind
whatever.
if she looked just like a little bit older, you know?
Right. Anime woman disease is here in full force, as always. But and then yes, once she's in her revealed form, then she almost does like not only like a goddess act, but almost a little bit of a Disney princess act too. In that like all these animals just like walk up to her, like looking up at her in adoration. Her arms are constantly cycling in the kind of what's that pose that you call it? I should have looked this up before we got on the podcast, but she's rotating her arms constantly in a full smooth motion, right? And so there's some fun stuff there.
She's like a little unsettling. She doesn't open her eyes for the first like half of her testimony because she's lying to you.
Right.
And it's not until you like manage to corner her and trick her into revealing stuff that she does then open her eyes. Kind of weird. But okay.
I think that the most interesting thing about Amara is that she really does pull like the whole divinity thing where like literally every person in the like room like treats her title, so everyone has their own title, which I've actually never grokked until just now. I thought they called everyone your eminence, but it turns out the Rafa is your benevolence, your eminence is Queen Garan, and then her mercifulness is Queen Amara. And Amara like truly is like this divine being who's like fucking the optimal, like it truly an enlightened person. I was reading like, to me it kind of reminded me of like a bodhisattva, you know what I mean, like a person who stays on Earth to like lead the others to enlightenment.
I definitely got that vibe as well.
Yes. And then when she does her like heel turn, when she gets like mad, it's the fucking funniest thing where the crack of lightning appears behind her and all the animals scurry away. That was fantastic. Here's my thing. This is what Sadmati should have been. Like, Sadmati doesn't go...
That would be cooler!
Sadmati doesn't go all the way with being a divine prosecutor. If he was doing this shit the entire time, I would have loved him. Like, I feel like he can't commit to either bit. He can't commit to being a prosecutor, and he can't commit to his own religion. Oh my god. Anyway.
He lacks pizzazz in every way.
He's a condiment. He only works with another person. Like, he only works as a topping. He doesn't...
It's like mayonnaise with garlic in it.
Girl, that's aioli, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Actually, how dare you besmirch aioli in front of me?
I, like, it just goes to...
Pause before you drop the aioli.
The aioli. Dude, yeah, you're right. Make sure you lower the volume before I scream about aioli. So, like...
Max volume.
I really like Queen Amara, and I like her heel turn. It's very funny. I also like the bit when, like, you finally break her, and her breaking animation is her, like, opening her eyes, being all dreamy for Dirk, which is very funny to me.
Yeah.
We definitely called the fact that, the photo that was taken was not Queen Garan, it was Queen Amara.
Yes, that's true. You did call that as well.
Because as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's not her. That's not her. It's the cups aren't large enough. And I knew. I was right.
You say the cups?
The cups. And moving on.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought you said, but
I would never notice such a thing. This part of this case identification does like hinge on like looking at their cleavage, though.
Yeah,
it does.
It's
like, it literally
it is actually. It's literally mission critical to stare at both of these women's boobs.
I want to be perfectly clear. I did this for the sake of the country. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I did this to save
Excuse me,
lot.
ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Can you please pull your collar down a little bit further here? This is for the good of the realm.
We need to look at your tits.
Somehow a better tit joke than the clown one. Just, you know, in writing. Listen, if you're gonna make a tit joke, at least be funny. You know what I mean?
This is the true Psycho Eye attack. It's been waiting all this time to be deployed.
We do get to use the Psycho Eye attack on Queen Amara. It's very important that we get one last Psycho Eye attack, because I feel like I've not been using my Psycho Eye attack recently.
Right.
And Nita doesn't stop us like he threatened to do, which is nice of him, I suppose.
Naida's too busy being like whipped by fucking Queen Garan to fucking do anything. Like he's there to he's a TA now, and like he doesn't fucking do anything.
He just kind of stands there.
Queen Garan, I think, is an interesting villain, and I'm glad that we were to have a villain who like we all be like, that's the killer, obviously, because it's been a while since we accused a member of the court of crime.
Yeah, when was the last time we accused a prosecutor of a crime?
It wasn't in the last game, because that was
we unaccused Simon of crimes.
We acquitted him. In fact, that's the opposite. That's our ratio going down. The one before that was was the Gavin brothers as the prosecutor. So like technically we did accuse, oh my god, I always mix them up, Kristoff of being
but Kristoff was not a prosecutor, so
true, I mean still a member of the court, I would say, right? Because he was our boss.
Yeah.
Very loose definition, I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's gonna get back to form, I think, is what we're saying.
The last time we truly accused the prosecutor was my man, my coffee drinking man, Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I
reminiscing. Is that why you sound like you were going like, man?
Everyone's favorite
remembering better times.
Cyborg dude.
Dude, he brought chauvinism back, baby.
He did not.
He brought it back, you know.
Not for lack of trying.
He was willing to kill a child and never mind. Maybe I should not be here defending Godot, the chauvinist killer.
Attempted child murderer.
Oh, it's been a while since we tried to kill a child. So
it's happening this game. Multiple children were on trial and would have been executed.
I mean, we definitely got Albie acquitted. Who was the other kid we were accusing?
I mean, just Albie here. Yeah, it was just Albie in this game. Yes.
Yeah, Albie got out. He's fine.
It was still attempted.
He brushed off his knees. He's good.
Yeah.
So, I think that was only the really like, and then we had to like fucking break down Sadmani's testimony. Like the people that we actually like did testimony with was not a lot of people. You know what I mean? It was kind of strange how this felt very long, but there wasn't actually a lot of testimony to go through. It was mostly like talking about like, here's the sequence of events that could have occurred, and now we gotta find it. It was, bro. Okay,
a lot of cutscenes, a lot of flashbacks, a lot
who's in charge?
Sepia tone.
Who's in charge of the flashbacks? They've been mashing the button. Because holy shit, dude, we're getting flashbacks to shit that happened 30 minutes ago. What the fuck? I'm conscious. Yeah. I know what's happening. I'm not asleep at the wheel here.
It's just in case you put your game down and walked away.
It is just like a curse of, I don't know. It feels like a curse of the anime, the anime gene getting in there.
You can blame Danganronpa.
They love to just do flashbacks for stuff that just happened. Do you remember this line? Yes, I was reading. I was paying attention. Thank you.
That was literally the last testimony.
I think it's kind of incredible that that like we do get to resolve Wraith's arc. We resolve Sadmani's arc. I guess Dirk's arc is resolved because that motherfucker is dead. Like, we can't really... I mean, he's resolved, right?
His arc resolved before anybody else's.
He died trying to rescue Maya.
Mm-hmm.
He got fucking shot 6 times trying to save this girl he's never met.
We get to see this on screen, too. Which I think is maybe the first time that happens. That we see a bullet go into somebody, like, animated, like, actually happen, right? In this game, in these games.
Hear me out. A dragon never yields.
I mean, it's a cool animation, right?
Yeah, he does that thing where he, like his stance.
I love his stance.
That's good stuff.
He flexes and widens his eyes, and his hair flares back like a Ghibli character.
He uses his spiritual pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like peak Dirk.
I loved it.
We all like Dirk.
Yes.
I think he's a good father? No.
No.
Absolutely not. I think he's a shit dad. He could have solved this all so much better if he just told us what the fuck was going on.
He would have been
first time. Maya, you're not off the hook for this either. Well, I promised him. Fuck you. Tell me my dad's dead, asshole.
Well, like
Jesus.
You're really against Maya.
It's not like everybody else isn't keeping secrets from Apollo, so.
No, I'm mad at both of them. I do want to be clear. I believe
think
Maya was coerced.
You believe Maya was coerced into... I mean...
Yeah.
She
he told
did
her
feel...
a sad story and she did whatever he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, she watches tokusatsu. She would have been easily manipulated.
Yeah.
I like how she went, I would never use spirit channeling for evil, and then I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure that if I convinced you, you'd use spirit channeling for, like, tax evasion. You'd use it as soon as you
is
could.
Is tax evasion evil, though?
Ooh, good point. This is that podcast. We'll find out later.
Haha, IRS, don't listen to me.
Don't audit me.
Every single member of the podcast gets audited next year.
Oh!
Hey, if you're in the IRS, fuck you.
Wow.
Come at me. I have all of my tax returns from the past 6 years saved. If you want them, come get them.
How come the potholes on my street aren't fixed?
Why are we still giving weapons to
Oh my god.
Israel?
Oh.
That's too real. We gotta close the bit. The fucking lament configuration of bits Des just opens.
Des isn't wrong.
No.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
but...
I've made it official company policy on the Twitter account.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Everybody has to hide stuff from Apollo because the game has to happen, right? Because we have to have shocking reveals.
And
That's
bad.
That's why these happen, right?
I think that's one of the weaknesses of all of Apollo's stories. We need to have the story happen so Apollo can't know the things that we know. But it's like, but you could just tell him, you know? Like,
and
it's not that detrimental.
Come up with a better reason why he can't know.
Yeah, other than, we can't really tell you.
And when Apollo does know things, like when in case 2, right? You know, he knows stuff about Nayuta. He knows stuff about his own childhood, but he does not bring it up because we have to drag out the surprise, right, for the player. Yeah. And sometimes I wish that there was a little bit more drip feeding of that, right, throughout the rest of the game. Give us a little bit more at that point, right? Rather than, like, the only thing we get revealed in case 2 is Apollo knows Nayuta from the past, right? And that's all we get.
And they were saved from drowning.
Well, we don't get that until later, even. So, like, that's the only thing we get in case 2. So, like, I just wish there would have been a way to kind of pace out that a little bit better, because it feels like all of this Apollo stuff gets so backloaded then, right? It pretty much all of it happens here in the final case. Like 70 to 80% of it happens here.
It just feels like I just feel bad for Apollo. His whole story is just so messy and not written very well.
I mean, we have the other thing hanging over all of us, right? Which is that it was in the summary up front, which I don't know if we should get into now quite yet, because we haven't wrapped up, like, talking about the other stuff. But Apollo stays here in Khura'in at the end of the game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which
feels a little bit like, okay, we did all of Apollo's story. Now we're going to shuffle him off to this corner for now, right?
Yeah, which is kind of a bummer because, like, this guy's a law nerd. Like, he would be excited about doing this, I think. Mm-hmm. But it just feels like a little deflated, I guess.
Right.
It's a little whack.
I agree with that term.
It's a little whack.
It's very whack.
Because we, at least for us anyway, right? We have not had a lot of fun in Khura'in. We have not had a lot of fun necessarily with Nayuta. So to be putting Apollo in that bucket over here with that setting and those characters is kind of like, oh man, I'm not going to get to see my boy do certain things with certain characters anymore. He's going to be over here with the characters I don't like.
Characters that I hate, yeah.
And this chick, like, terrible guy, and hate him.
I think the worst part about it is the fact that, like, I felt like he was doing completely fine in America, like with like Clavier and their like rivalry and like
I know his fucking boyfriend.
His fucking
bummer.
Like Clavier is gonna have to make stops at the Kingdom of Kuraina when he's on tour now, and
that sucks for everyone.
And that sucks for everyone. They have to listen to Gavin. They have to go to Kurain. No one's happy.
No, the girlies love Gavin.
I don't know if the girlies... Well, they do.
They do, objectively.
They objectively love Gavin.
They give one line, right? That's like, once I'm done setting up, maybe I'll be able to come back, Mr. Right. Don't worry. You know, like they give the out, right? As if like, you know, hey, we'll, whatever we want to do with Apollo, they'll write it. You know, if they have Apollo come back in another game one day, they would be able to just say, well, he wrapped up. You know, Kurain's doing all right now. He came back to the U.S.
The whole
it's
story
fine.
just felt so like he was so overshadowed in his own game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden we get another game with him, and they just start ham-fisting stuff in that was never mentioned before, and never brought up as if it was supposed to be important. And then all of this stuff happened, which just feels like even more of that. And then they act like they just tied a bow on it and shipped him off to sea. Like it just doesn't feel good.
We have the unfortunate knowledge of knowing that this is going to be the Apollo Justice trilogy. So like, I think, I mean, the way that I read the end of which when he was going to Kurai, like to stay in Kurai, was simply just like, all right, if we have a new game that has Apollo in it and he's the main character, it's going to be a year later. And that's like being really generous. That's like we solved the legal system in 1 year.
I think, and I think it would be kind of fun to like, I don't know, like give him a new like outfit again, like have him set up like.
Yeah, do a time skip Apollo.
Time skip, it could be fun. Time skip Apollo could be fun.
I want him, if he's gonna live in Korean, like, you know, let's give him an outfit change. Let's get him his own proper law office instead of just, you know, putting a sign on a JPEG.
I think
there's also...
They
sorry,
could have afforded it.
Because
I was going to say that, like, the most interesting Apollo was in his trilogy was when he was punished Venom Apollo. Because, like...
Yeah.
That read is more interesting to me, because it, like, read to me that he was going on his own path to find the truth. And then when he came back and he was a shit heel in court, I was like, oh, hell yeah, dude, box with me. But, like, Apollo and Kurain, because we retroactively gave him a backstory in which that he has ties to this place and ties to these prosecutors, all these people, to a place that, like, let's say that we did play, it is collectively 1/6 of our Ace Attorney journey, like this whole place. So to see him stay here, it's like watching a character just like meet somebody randomly at a bar and be like, oh yeah, I know this guy, I'm going back with him. And it's like, who the fuck is that? We've been here for like fucking 5 hours. So like,
yeah,
it just doesn't land well to me personally. And like, I get having Apollo have his own like little law journey, because like, let's be real, this guy wants to be a lawyer. I don't blame him for like fucking leaving the Write Anything agency so he doesn't have to be a magician's assistant anymore. But I kind of wish it was done in a way in which that like, oh, you know what, let's start the Write Anything agency fucking Kurain branch, you know what I mean? Like, and you can be the head of that, or like take over the Write Anything agency. I'm retiring, me, Phoenix Wright, the guy who was supposed to retire fucking 10 years ago or whatever.
He's like, I'm going to go to help Kurain, and Phoenix is like, who's gonna clean my toilets?
That's the thing, right? Like, there's something about I don't know why this storytelling technique comes up a lot in Japanese games and sometimes TV too, right? Is that they really, really go out of their way to not spoil a previous entry in the series, right?
Yep.
Even though it would feel way better if they just did that.
Right. So here's a bit from an interview with Yamazaki and Fuse talking about the very, very end of 6 here, right? With the bit with Phoenix and Lammeror, right? So Yamazaki says, regarding Lammeror, about that, I really wanted to show who it was, but it would spoil Gyakuten Saiban 4, so I didn't show her directly. Fuse says, perhaps one extra cutscene would have done it, but that would have given away everything, so it's a difficult call. Yamazaki, I really wanted to show her. Fuse, as you intended to bring everything together, you wanted her to appear too, right? It would have been strange to not mention her at all. But for those who haven't played Gyakuten Saiban 4 yet, it might be a good hook. Yamazaki, because then they'd want to play the game, right? Fuse, yep, there's even an app version of it now. And Yamazaki wraps it up by saying, that's right. I think their impression of 6 will change a lot once they've played 4. Manuki stars in the second episode of 6. That's Trucy, by the way. But it only works because she was also in 4. You only saw some of her tears in the epilogue, but that was in a flashback scene. She was portrayed as a character who didn't show her tears, which is why we could make episode 2 of 6. That's how in 4, 5, and 6 are all brought together. And so I think that it might be fun to play 4 after playing 6. I hope you'll all enjoy the games. Which is a little bit of a wordy way to saying that, like, they're trying to wrap them all and link them all together while not spoiling the context and direct events of each game. And what that means then is I think that ethos, right, directly leads into what happens with Apollo, with having these kind of weird multiple backstories, essentially, right? That is why we have our good friend Clay Terran in 5, who is a backstory character for Apollo and establishes, this like childhood moment for Apollo. And then also we have to have another different childhood backstory for Apollo in 6 that is all related to Korain. None of these things can touch. None of these, they all have to stay separate. It's like your dinner plate, like when you're a little kid who's picky eater. The peas can't touch the mashed potatoes, and the gravy and the chicken has to stay over here. If they touch, if they mix, that's no bueno. And it's just, the thing is when I'm an adult, I like it when those things mix. And actually it makes for a bigger, more fuller flavor, right? And it's just a little disappointing that everything has to, everything has to end up this way because it makes the overall story feel less cohesive as a result, right?
You can't, they have an overarching story, and by overarching story, I mean they have characters with story arcs that kind of move in a linear fashion. Not necessarily. Story-wise, they have their cases go back in the past and things like that, but you play the first game, and then you play the second game, and it takes place after the first game. So you know that there are things that happen in the first game that are going to be important to the second game. Then why hide it? Just tell people to play the first game.
I said it in the first case episode for this. If I was not already an Ace Attorney fan and had not played all of the other games, I would not keep playing this game after that tutorial case. I would have quit part of the way through and said, damn, I guess this is some overhyped shit. I'm not playing this. I only did it because I am a enjoyer of the series, and also I'm on a fucking podcast.
and not, I know I've done this a lot through this podcast, so I realize I'm going to sound like a broken record. So not to hammer the Yamazaki versus Takumi messaging again. But Shu Takumi threads this needle so much better in games 1 through 3, in which they technically also do not spoil each other in events that happen, right? But they write around it so much better, and like setting up stuff that happens with Edgeworth, say, for example, from game 1 into game 2, where you have this moment like, where's Edgeworth? He's gone. What does that mean, right? You know that there was a character from the first game now who is named Edgeworth. You don't need to know exactly what happened with him, but we are threading that needle better of like continuing those arcs and those characters while still not, maintaining that ideal, quote unquote, of not spoiling each individual game, right?
And also, there's eventually a payoff for that. Edgeworth
exactly
does come back, and you see, oh, these characters, they clearly have like a deep history. They care about each other. They're maybe fucking. Let me play the first game and see what's going on. What's happening with Miles' unnecessary feelings, Edgeworth?
Exactly.
I think the thing about it that like also weirdly reflects on Phoenix Wright is the fact that like there is moments where like we go into Phoenix's past in different games. The first game we learn about the past in which that he was in elementary school, but like that was inspired him to like become a lawyer. But in the third game we learned about his college career in which he had a girlfriend who was like a killer, and
and he almost didn't go to become a lawyer. He went to a fucking art school, and that's why he's shitting on every painting he ever sees.
That's actually, you know what? I didn't realize that till you pointed me out. It's actually really funny to think about the fact that like Phoenix Wright hates most art.
Every painting, he's like,
super
"This
critical.
is trash. This is like kitsch. This is nonsense."
Phoenix, let's see
so
your fucking
good.
canvas. Let's see your fucking canvas, right?
Yeah, you know what? Pay me something, Phoenix, you asshole.
So like, it just kind of sucks that like the way that they wrote like new backstories for Apollo is that they went backwards. We went even further into his past. We talked to him when he was in elementary school, and he had his best friend Clay Taryn, who, wow, I just got my fucking text tone on. I should have turned that shit off.
Didn't hear it.
Sweet, it's definitely on the fucking recording.
Edit that out. Edit that out.
No, keep
Or
it in.
maybe leave it in.
I have a cool text tone.
Yeah.
So like, the issue is that like we go. I think the thing about it is that we make a lot of important moments for Apollo's life be in his youth, and I don't necessarily think that's more interesting. I think it would have been more interesting if he like knew Sadmati from his college days. You know what I mean? Like. He probably wouldn't have had that much of a serious tie to Kurain if that's what happened. But it's...
But that didn't make any sense anyways, so...
Yeah. But we're also just operating in like a 10-year period, right?
Yeah.
For all this stuff for Apollo, which makes it harder to squeeze all that in, makes it harder to believe. Like, at least the Phoenix backstory stuff is, a, thing that happened when he was like 6 or 7, right? And then something that happened in his college years, right? Those are his 2 moments that we add some backstory in. All of Apollo stuff happens in the span of like before he's 12.
Yeah.
Right?
Before he even has like a personality.
Right.
So
it's just it's just harder to make all that stuff work. And it's not that it can't. It's not that it can't. All this stuff could be done well. But I don't think it sticks the landing.
I agree, that it didn't stick the landing.
And I want it to so badly, right? Here's the thing. There's parts of this that I really do like. We talked about how much we like Dirk. I really like Dirk. And I think that they pretty much 90% of the way pull off the Dirk is dead the whole time surprise, right? I think that mostly works aside from, again, like we talked about a little bit, the promise with Maya feels a little tenuous. Like I kind of get it, right? Kind of makes some sense to me, but it does feel a little bit like
Maya would sell somebody out for a hamburger in a second.
That's true.
But she can keep Dirk's secret, this guy that she just met, because he died in front of her.
That if she continues to keep it, could get her best friend and his assistant killed in a foreign country.
Right. But like Dirk being channeled by Maya and coming back to Japanifornia one last time to meet his adopted son because he hasn't seen him in years. Like, that hits for me, right? Like, that's good. Them getting to spend a little bit more time, even though he's really already dead. Like, that kind of stuff works for me. And I just wish that there was any of that juice with Nayuta, right? Like, I just wish that there was some of that there with him, because I don't
That man had
any
like
of that, right?
no stage presence with his own estranged father. Like, that could have been good. That could have been good.
Right. Yeah, they get very few moments to interact, right?
Yeah.
We get told about the moment between Dirk and Nayuta when they are in the detention center, right? When Nayuta gives him back his badge and doesn't take it from him, right? Like, we get told about that. I wish we could have seen that, right? I wish we could have actually gotten that moment on screen somehow, whether Apollo was present for it or if we just saw it, third person camera.
Yeah.
It's okay. We can move the camera away from a player character for a moment just to see this moment, right? So we get this.
It really feels like we're told, like, in the beginning, Nayuta is the son of Dirk. And because of that, we're supposed to have an understanding that they have some kind of emotional connection, when throughout the entire game, we're not seeing or feeling any of that because Nayuta is in a position where he's not allowed to show that. So it just kind of falls flat anytime they bring up Nayuta and Dirk.
It'd be nice to play up some of the scandalousness of it, right? If it is that the queen's presence is so overbearing, right, and Nayuta cannot do these things without worrying about repercussions from the queen, let's play that up a little bit. Anytime Nayuta's away from the queen, what if it's about trying to let him let his guard down, and we get a little more snippets out, right? That only really happens like once, right? Mm-hmm. And if we could get a little bit more of that, that might have helped along the way, right?
Mm-hmm. There was just too much. I think too much for too many characters happening all at once. We have Apollo's story coming out into the open with, how many we've had Apollo since game 4, and it still feels like they're doing this whole character reveal for him,
and we never address the fact that he's half magician and he has super, like, come on, you've got a great backstory out there. Why aren't you doing anything with it?
Yeah, so they're revealing. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was done.
Okay.
It just feels like they're trying to tell two stories at the same time, and it's just too much for the game to jam into 5 cases. It just feels like there's not much to latch onto for either of them.
Here's the thing. Here's the real secret. Is that I think us going to Kurain was straight up a mistake. And I think this country was low-key fucked from the get-go. And no matter what situation we were going to have here, I think I understand why some people would be like, this is my least favorite Ace Attorney game. But I also understand why people wouldn't say that it's the least favorite, because it does, no matter how we like it, end the Apollo Justice story. So, like, at a certain point, I think that some people are... Go ahead.
I'm going to say pretty confidently, this is my least favorite Ace Attorney game.
I hear you, yes. What I'm saying is, I think that some people would not consider their least favorite Ace Attorney game only because it is the end of a trilogy. Because it concludes a story. And some people are able to, like, look past the...
I feel like the only reason we're calling it a trilogy is because they released them calling it the Ace Attorney. They call it the Apollo Justice Trilogy. Before they call it the Apollo Justice Trilogy, it was just the next Ace Attorney game.
Okay, so let's look at it from a different angle then. It's a lot of people compare Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice together because those are both 3DS games. So some people, and I know that, like, those are considered to be not very popular. I think that there are people who would consider Dual Destinies their least favorite, if only because Spirit of Justice ends the Apollo Justice story. Not necessarily part of the trilogy, but this does end Apollo Justice's story.
It just doesn't sit right with me saying
Is there
that.
like
it doesn't feel like Apollo ever really got much of I don't know how to explain it. It feels like they baked a cake, but they did it in the wrong order, and it didn't come out right.
Am I reading between the lines here, Tiago? Are you saying that there's people who think that might be in the chat with us right now, or
like there's a ghost in the room? No. What are you talking about? Let me be perfectly clear.
I'm trying to figure out if this is your position, but you don't want to say it because Dess and I fucking hate this guy.
Fuck no. My position is that Dual Destiny rocks.
You're like, some people might feel this way, and I'm like, where?
So here's the thing, is that, like, a couple games ago, Ben, like, we asked Ben about, like, the 3DS games, and Ben was like, some people say that Spirit of Justice is the worst one, and some people say that Dual Destinies is the worst one. Is that correct, Ben? Am I misremembering?
That is how I characterized it at the time, and I even got a few comments from people who were like, no, I think Investigations 1 is the worst one, or something like that, right? Because so, like, everybody has their least favorite, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't vibe for one reason or another. I remembered at the time when Spirit of Justice and Dual Destinies came out, Dual Destinies, it was the first 3D one. It had growing pains, right?
Yeah.
There were a lot of people who did not like that it was 3D instead of 2D animation at the time, right? So there was a lot of, like, weird uneasiness, like, do we actually like Athena as a character? Does she feel like a weird add-on character? Do we like 3D at all? And this isn't Shu Takumi anymore. This feels like it's written slightly different. Does this work? That kind of thing, right? And Spirit of Justice is more quote-unquote cohesive, right? It's all focused around one big event, right? One big country, that is kind of like the focus for this whole game, and that at least gives you some orbit, right, to work around. And so I think that some of the things in there are unfortunately not as compelling to me, right? If I have to pick, between the two, I'm also probably going to rank Dual Destinies ever so slightly higher than Spirit of Justice, even though I think Spirit of Justice is more competently made, right? Just from a game perspective, right? It has better puzzles. It has better writing overall. It has, better animation, and the 3D models are better, right? But Dual Destinies is a bit more... It's a bit more janky in ways that I find interesting, right? Sometimes I like it when a game is a bit more of a B+ than a AAA, like, perfect experience the whole way through, right?
Despite everything, it was still a slightly better game for us, I think.
Sometimes a 7 out of 10 is better than a 10 out of 10. You know what I'm saying, right? Because sometimes it's just more interesting than being a perfectly smooth, perfectly constructed orb. Not saying that Spirit of Justice is perfect, right? But, like...
No, we did our fair share of dunking.
But, so...
It had a little more heart to it, I think.
This game had more heart?
I think so. This felt... like, I don't know.
I think
need a funny, wacky prosecutor. I need it.
I think the Dirk relationship does add a lot of heart to this.
Yeah, that helps, but he doesn't show up until the last... Not for real. Like, the last case?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I kind of wish that we had interactions with Dirk the whole game, and then we get the reveal that he has really been dead.
It feels to me,
right?
This would have, again, not something they would have done because they wouldn't have been able to spoil stuff. To have Dirk be a character in Apollo's story from the very beginning of Apollo's appearance, like, even just offhand mentioning him. Yeah. Building a relationship with him before
at least have him show up in game 5, right?
Yeah, and then just slapping him in there, which is what, like, it just feels like what they've been doing with Apollo's story the whole way through. Which I know they do with some of the other characters, but I don't know, it's written better for other characters.
It's especially obvious when it comes to Apollo. It's like really blatant.
It works for Phoenix because when he had a character introduced from his backstory, it was done in the tutorial case of that game. We see Dahlia Hawthorne 3-1, and it, like, we know for a fact that motherfucker is related to us. And then for Dirk,
when we say she's definitely gonna be back,
I mean, honestly, I'm glad I lost that bet because it worked narratively and shit.
Yeah,
But
it was perfect. I just felt like her animations were too good.
And then, like, we have Dirk, who shows up at the last court case, like, to interact with us, and it's like, bro, what are you doing? It's a little, like, the party's winding down, you know what I mean?
His party had already wound down.
His party was off. His party was done. So, like...
So somebody called the cops on his party.
I think the overall, like, case... Speaking of the last case, just, like, the overall murder mystery to figure out that Inga was being spirit channeled by people, and that the murder took place at a different time zone, and the people who were involved. I didn't really have any trouble with any of that until, like, Rafa stepped in, because sometimes when Rafa talks, I get a little confused. I just get confused when I talk to people who are younger than me. I don't know what they're saying all the time. But, like, it's kind of incredible that, like, we've talked for, like, almost an hour here now about, like, not even necessarily about the case, more about how we feel about the end of the game. And because I think that the case was, like, it was a case. It was a fun case. I enjoyed solving it. But the impression that this game left on us is so much more damning than the actual case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this is also an interesting contrast against Spirit of Justice. No, against Dual Destinies, because Dual Destinies, we were kicking our feet the whole time a little bit. Like, we were having some fun, but we weren't, like, wild about it. And the twists pulled it off for us so well. And in this one, they almost land that perfect twist, but it's not quite as good as the last perfect twist that they landed to save a mediocre game.
Mm-hmm.
So it falls flat compared to Dual Destinies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, getting Bobby Fulbright was getting lightning in a bottle. Yeah. Like,
You can't do it twice in a row, guys. It's just not feasible.
Plus,
I respect the attempt. They almost did it. It's a good case.
Yeah.
It was also just too long.
True.
This should have been...
I think that was also part of the reason why we all went into it. We, like... From the get-go, this game was just too long. Everything from the tutorial case all the way to the very last case, when we were just like, this is long. Be prepared, this is long. This is really long.
And
this is a 14-hour case.
I think some people in the comments listening will probably say, and I don't think they're entirely unfair in saying this, right, is that the structure of this podcast and the way we play these games makes them feel longer, right? And
true.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's true. So I want to give voice to that, right?
I would agree with that.
So I think that colors our experience a little bit, right? Because we intentionally pull them apart, right? We make everything a little bit longer. We're doing this in our free time. We have day jobs, right? You know, we play these games after the fact, and so
God,
normally
I wish I could play this game at my job.
Right? Yeah. If you could play a game like
even
on your
going
3DS,
into it, though, like even
on
going
your lunch
into
break,
cases, like
you know?
Even going into cases knowing that it's going to be long, like even going into them, like enjoying them at first, like there's just so many parts where it's like, okay, I remember that. You already told me that. I remember this. You're repeating yourself. This doesn't feel necessary.
They did do a lot of very obvious padding that there wasn't as much of in Dual Destinies. Like the constant flashbacks, the extended animations.
We paid for that.
Like, yeah, like playing, like, once you can skip Rafa's little dance, like, you can skip it, but that shit'll play every time.
Okay, I actually...
Every single time, exactly the same way.
I do want to step in here real quick. I do want to talk about that. I watched every single one of Rafa's dances. Now,
why would you do that to yourself?
Let me be perfectly clear. I thought that there was going to be like a little thing that changed every time she did the dance as the story was going on to like represent something. Because I thought to my fucking self, man, if I was a game designer and I knew that this character was going through an arc, I would throw in little hints during the dance to see like to represent that this character is doing growth. Did that happen?
That would be great.
It didn't happen.
Oh.
It's kind of incredible. I feel like that was a missed opportunity. Now, I don't even feel like that this is the worst case. I do like this case. I think
No, I like this. This case, I think, is probably the best case in the game.
no, the other one has Gyro Tornado, so wake up. I think that I want to like this more because I am the type of person where I see somebody and they like something and I go, I want to know why you like that thing. So when I see people down bad for Sadmati, I'm like, what is going on in your head? I need to know. And I want to see your vision.
May I dissect your brain in a lab?
Yeah, like, because I can't.
Now that we're here, yeah.
Normal question.
I can't understand it, Your Honor. Also, the second that, just a little side tidbit, the second I fucking saw that Inga had how do you say it, Ben? The face bind.
Yes, it is, sorry, I have it right here. Prosopagnosia. And my fucking brain went, go play Zero Escape 999, okay? That's a really good game. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say any more, but that game's really good. I guess my whole thing is that, like, I want to like this game because I think it does bring a lot of interesting thing to the Ace Attorney verse and lore. That's like, Ghost Law is real now. We finally got it, and it happened.
And finally, it was fun. That last part where you were like, you know, you're getting the divination seance, you're figuring out who's channeling who and when and how. I was having a good time. I was happy.
It almost feels like, on that note, it almost feels like they took that concept of doing that kind of stuff, which they've probably wanted to do for a while, and really tried to build the whole game and story around it, and they just picked some really weird ways to go about it.
I think
so. Oh, finish your thought first, Tiago, because I'm gonna jump off of that.
Okay, great. I forgot it. Never mind.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's okay. It was gonna be about Ghost Law.
So, Dessy, you said you think that they wanted to base the whole game around spirit channeling, basically, right?
Yeah.
And Tiago, earlier you said that you think that it would have been more interesting if this game was not set in Korean.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here, from the Gyakuten Saiban 6 official visual book, in which an interview was done with, again, Yamazaki and the art director, Fuse. And again, this is also translated by Ash from Gyakuten Saiban Library. Thank you very much, Ash.
Thank you very much,
Ash.
This
is an incredible
Hero
resource.
As always.
Yes. So they talk a little bit about that they originally wanted to maybe set the game in. They wanted to set the game in another country, right?
Mm.
So they were thinking Europe or North Europe, but Europe was already being featured in Great Ace Attorney, which was being prepared around the same time, and also they wanted to have the theme of revolution be important to the game. So they eventually came up with the idea of a small island in the south, right, isolated from the outside world. They also really wanted Maya Fey to appear again. So they arrived at the idea that it should really focus around spirit channeling, and that is what grew into Korain. But Yamazaki says, we didn't decide right away on the theme of revolution. It had been 7 years since Ace Attorney 4. When we made Ace Attorney 5, we figured something with impact was needed, which led to the destruction of the court, aka the explosion. At first, we thought that for this game, we didn't need to focus that much on making an impact anymore, but after a discussion with the producer, we arrived at the conclusion that we needed something that surpassed the destruction of the court. We came up with some ideas and decided on the revolution of the court. We also had some rejected ideas, something like an underground court or a dark court, where Phoenix would be taken to an illegal court for the underworld, where he'd be forced to act as a defense attorney. The defendant would, of course, also be someone from the underworld, so it'd be difficult to trust them. The prosecutor, the witnesses, they'd all be untrustworthy people, and you'd never know what they might pull off. But then we thought about this seriously and figured this would be a really, really enormous pinch for Phoenix. Fuse says, I still think it was a good idea, laughing.
I still think it was
rejected.
a good...
I still think it was a good idea.
It was rejected
jealous.
because it didn't tie up with spirit channeling. And so, again, Yamazaki says, he continues, he adds on, there was this idea that Maya would have been kidnapped and Phoenix was forced in taking part in the trials. And then Fuse adds on, it wouldn't be an underground fighting arena, but an underground court surrounded by a fence with rich people and riffraff in the gallery, gambling on who'd win. We also thought a lot about the presentation of the situation and how about in the end, you'd defeat the true criminal. We wanted a person you really, really wanted to defeat, someone who you'd pursue without any hesitation, so you could shout to them that they were the murderer. So considering this was an underground court, we came up with the idea of someone who controlled everything from behind the scenes. In the end, the setting became the Kingdom of Korain, but we built on that original idea. So now you defeat the queen and prosecutor and bring forth a revolution.
What a sick idea.
It is actually, it's very silly, but it is really funny. It's really cool.
I understand why it didn't work out, but like
it's almost too silly in a way, right? But
I mean,
secret underground court, like
I want to go to Shadow Court. I want to gamble on Shadow Court. I think that'd go crazy on DraftKings. Actually, Ben, block that one too.
Yeah, don't.
No free advertising for that.
No, not for those bastards.
No, I actually straight up need you to get that one. I'm giving you the timestamp.
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of interesting to see that concept be sent to fucking a new extreme in which that, like, instead of street court, it's fucking church court. And we do have an evil fucking queen being the biggest villain. And
we do have literally the entire weight of the government is brought to bear against Apollo and Phoenix.
Yeah.
In some ways that, again, we have to suspend our disbelief a little bit because this is like fantasy anime logic, right?
Yeah.
Because she should have just pulled the trigger. The queen should have just told her guards to pull the trigger before Apollo went neener.
I think that
but we have to we have to have the story happen, right?
You actually brought up a point that I was going to bring up and I fucking forgot about. We never resolved the Founder's Orb riddle. We never summoned the Holy Mother.
No, well, yeah, she can't do it.
Yeah, but Maya can.
Maya can.
Rafa can. Eventually. She's not good right now. Amara can. Like, are you fucking telling me that we fought fucking Wimperson for nothing? the mystery of the Founder's Orb, that this object that we had to bring about revolution, it was not the fact that it was a magical MacGuffin. It was the fact that it was a MacGuffin that the other person could not activate. And I'm just like,
right.
Fuck.
And that the people of Korain believed in, right?
Yeah.
That all of Gabran's guards believed in. And that is why that they would, the second that Apollo pulls it out, that they would go immediately like, oh boy, Garan, please, do a demonstration for us.
Show us your holy powers.
Yeah. Because otherwise this doesn't work. If the guards are truly loyal to Garan and not to the religion and not to, the Founder's Orb, right? This doesn't work. If they are just like, we're here for Garan, ride or die, then she tells them, I'll do it later for you guys. Pull the trigger. Get these lawyers out of my face. And the game's over. And obviously that can't happen.
I think it's...
So we have to have a little bit of a bloodless revolution because...
Honestly...
Yeah.
And then we have to reinstall the monarchy. Yay!
But good monarchy this time.
Yeah, it's the good, okay monarchy from the correct bloodline. That wasn't the evil blood.
We do point out that Rafa is the daughter of Amara, and that now the real good, funny family is now in charge, and that Empress Karan, the evil stepmother, turned out to be the bad guy.
The evil aunt.
Well, she was a stepmother in a way, right? Like,
yeah, she was both.
She was both. I don't know, man. Fucking Sudbody's not fuckable. Bobby Fulbright's not here.
He's not.
Like,
this is. I figure I should bring up what my last couple notes here, because if I don't bring these things up,
we're gonna devolve.
I'm sure
we're gonna devolve.
some folks will yell at me for not bringing them up.
Okay,
but since we have divided things up so much, we might have forgotten a little bit about the stuff in Japanifornia, where we first met Dirk and had the whole Founders Orb stuff, and Army, right?
Army boss.
Some people might want me to bring up that there's a lot of like mirroring and symbology going on between a lot of the characters in there. Army lost her mother in an arson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And her mother died saving her. Apollo, his father died in an arson, and his father died essentially trying to protect him, you know, so there's some of that, you know, a little bit of a mirror going on there. And then also you have also kind of like the blackmailing going on with Garan blackmailing Nayuta with, you know, loved ones to convince him to fight, and also Addishan, politician, you know, blackmailing Phoenix with Maya, you know, so that he fights in court against Apollo, right? So you've got like in this case, right, there's a lot of constructed you know, poetry, it rhymes going on here, right, between these various characters. And if we had played it all in one go and talked about it all in one go, that might have come up more naturally, but I figured I'd mention it here at least.
Yeah, fair. I didn't get any of that.
I did get the stuff with the Army, whatever her name is.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty explicit, because, like, Dirk tells her, like, oh, Apollo's dad died trying to save him from a fire, you know, like...
Oh.
He pretty much that's your in to get to talk to her.
That's a good point.
I feel like, on the other hand, like, I don't think I could binge this game.
No, God, no. Dude,
Like,
I'd throw up.
It's rough.
I think that,
The slog you have to get through for the pretty good payoff at the end is very difficult.
It brings up the issue of which is, like, we gotta break these sections up a little bit more, otherwise it's really gonna hurt, man. You know? And, like, there's no way I would have gotten that stuff, even if I played through this game consecutively. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm yawning.
Right. Like I said, that's why I have my notes.
Thank you for bringing up your notes. I think that, I think Dirk should have killed at least one guy. You know what I mean? Like, I really would have liked it if he was.
It'd be sick if he did, though.
I realize that this is just, you know, my leftist politics coming out, right? But the idea that, right, that Dirk's revolution has never killed anybody, has been, you know, basically just like working to, I don't know, take down the system from the outside by just making some explosions happen occasionally, or something, right? Like it's vague what they're actually doing. You know, they're resisting in some way. They're being pursued by the government. The government's definitely chasing them down and shooting at them. But it's not like we hear about clashes in like the violent sense, right? We get one protest in here.
Everyone's
right?
carrying guns around until there's a mob.
Yeah, and like the segment of this courtroom segment starts with the mob rushing into the courtroom, right? And then immediately getting pushed out by the Royal Guard, you know. And then they're like, okay, we cleared the courtroom. All right, now we can go back to normal.
They break in, and then the guard comes up, and everyone in the fucking crowd is like, oh shucks, and they have to leave.
Well, I guess no revolution today, guys.
Maybe next time. We'll get you next time, guys.
It's been a really rough time for the revolution. This bloodless revolution in which Dats throws around little snap bombs, and then the guard shoots down tens of people. You know?
Yeah.
That's probably what happened. I think, hopefully, when another Ace Attorney game comes out, it stays in one country. That's my guess for the future.
Yeah, who knows?
That's my hope and prayer.
We'll have to find out. We've been waiting for a while here, and who knows how much longer we will be waiting.
They said they're gonna make another one, but they didn't say when.
Dude, give me.
Well, yeah, the producer of the trilogy here, he said we still see a future for the Ace Attorney series. Those are his exact words. Which, at the point you're listening to this, who knows? That might be a really funny thing that he said, one way or the other.
Oh man.
So we'll see. Anyway, did anybody have any final thoughts here about this case before we start to wrap it up then? I feel like we've hit a lot of the big points for this one.
I
Pour
just
one out
hiccuped.
for Apollo.
Fair enough.
If I saw Queen Girl in that outfit, I would have understood way sooner about the guards. You know what I mean? Like it would have made perfect sense.
But they weren't about her.
They were a little too much for me, but I respect what they were going for.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's not how I would have done it.
Do you remember that hot Muppet? Do you remember that hot Muppet from Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright with the guards, the Knights guards?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I do now.
Night lady.
Yeah, that lady.
I do now.
Where?
Yeah, he was always sitting on one.
Yeah, where is she? Let's talk to her. I
We
miss
never
her.
did solve the Muppetification question in that game. That was really... Like, yes, it was the chemicals in the water, but, like, was that making the Muppets, though?
I think they were already Muppets, and if you hang out with the Muppets too long, it's like an aerosol. Like it spreads.
Mm-hmm.
That's my theory. I think that
And we've wrapped back around to Legionnaire disease.
Hey!
You need to realize that Legionnaire disease joke was not on the recording.
Now you have to put it on.
Oh, Jesus.
You can't. Oh my god! Continuing our long tradition of referencing jokes that have not been on the recording.
I'm sweating.
Oh, this is what we get for being friends in real life, where we talk to each other in real life.
I just want to think about a hot
Yeah.
Muppet. I'm an innocent person, Your Honor.
No, it's just me and
Oh,
Jess
man.
out here with the Legionnaires.
Final thoughts. I liked her M. Bison transformation. I like Queen Amara. I wish that, honestly, if you took Queen Amara's traits and put it onto Sadmati, it would have made Sadmati a more interesting character. I think that he didn't commit to either bit. He did not commit to a prosecutor, and he did not commit to being a religious person. And that is,
right.
He's lukewarm. He's tepid. But,
All right.
yeah, I think this game may be so far. I think all the Ace Attorney games are pretty good, but I think this is my least favorite one.
Well, we will see what the future holds then for the series as a whole, but technically speaking...
I hear the next game's a banger.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not going to ask anyone else what they've thought about the game?
Well, no, Rose said, you said. Dessy, did you have any last thoughts?
I don't know where this sits for me on my list. I'm still just so...
Okay.
Everything sits on my tongue funny because I like Apollo and I really wish it was just better for him.
Also, you're a super taster.
And I'm a super taster.
This is true.
Yeah. That's lore.
Religious trauma and super tasting.
Go hand in hand.
Those two things aren't related because I didn't get to be a super taster.
And you weren't a religious... That's true.
You didn't get the right flavor of religious trauma.
So I got to dodge a bunch of it. Thanks, Mom. Actual positive.
Slash
I was rescued. I was rescued from Catholicness.
Thank God.
All right, Ben,
We're gonna start. I'm gonna say some rude things about the Catholic Church if we're not stopped. So
yeah,
Ben,
we better get out of here.
That sounds like another podcast.
Yeah,
I should do this.
We are technically not done with Spirit of Justice.
Yeah.
there is a DLC case, which
Jesus.
takes place entirely after the fact.
What?
So this actually happens
Okay.
post everything that we played up to this point. So we are playing this in chronological time, as well as a release order this time. So there you go for everybody. Makes everybody happy. So yes, we will be playing the first half of the DLC case for the next episode. So you can keep up with the show at our website, updated autopsy report, updated autopsy.report, which will keep you up to date on everything that we do. Get you a link to all of our social media accounts, wherever you want to follow us. We're there. You can also watch all of our Let's Plays with Dessy and I and our good friend Iro in the rotating guest chair. That is at youtube.com/@Yotsuben. And as for me, you can follow me on pretty much all social media at Yotsuben. Dessy, where can people find you?
Don't. But if you do, congratulations.
It is an ARG to find you.
It's really not, but sure.
Oh, we should do our own ARG. We would definitely not fuck that up.
I don't know if I'm intelligent enough to put an ARG
Oh,
together.
absolutely not.
You just need a couple of
Tiago.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can find me at Tiago S. Dutra on the website, formerly known as Twitter. In the bio contains my link tree, nothing else. Keep your mind out of the gutter.
And Rose?
You can find me at Rose Nonsense on various social media websites. If I'm there or not, but you can usually find the pricing for my commissions. So please buy my art, the usual.
Straight up, Rose, you should just link your PayPal in the fucking bio of all your social media and just tell them.
Just like, please send me money. I need coffee.
Yep.
My dog wants more treats.
True.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We hope you will rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. And next time, we will be playing the first half of Turnabout Time Traveler.
No.
What the fuck does that mean?
No.
What the fuck does that mean, Your Honor? Hey, wait.
Let your imagination guide you.
No.
What?
Absolutely not.
Bye, everybody.
I fucking hate this game. I hate time travel.
Oh my god.
Who knows? Who knows what could be happening? We'll see you next time. Bye.
We're finally gonna solve who killed JFK. I think the worm held the gun at the grassy knoll. That's my headcanon. He's been taking
My headcanon about real life.
He's been taking out Kennedy since he was a wee worm.
How long do worms live?
10 million years.
That can't be right.
The only reason they die is because they get eaten by birds.
Worms life.
If you left a worm alive, they'd live forever.
4 to 8 years.
Yeah.
4 to 8? That is longer than I was expecting.
That means 428 years.
If you say so.
Because it's 4 to 8.
I'm going to stop my recording.
Okay, that's the bit. Got it.